Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats, talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. Get some weed and now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Bum bum ba-da-dum dum ba-da-dum dum ba-da-dum dum. Hello everybody, and welcome in to Winter is Blooming, a Game of Thrones rewatch podcast by us, the Penny Bloom Podcast. It is I, Colton Robertson, and today I am joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
What up? Always a pleasure to be here, and today is a glorious day.
It's the highest of pleasures in a Game of Thrones rewatch. We are talking Season 4, Episode 2, titled The Lion and the Rose, written by George R.R. Martin himself, directed by Alex Graves. And for the layman, the ones who didn't remember what happened in this but have watched the show before, Bing Bong, the king is dead. You know, we're going up.
You know, if they were going to give us a red wedding, they better have given us something like this. You know, they knew they had to just strike us down, get us all down low. But they knew this moment was coming. You know, they knew everyone would very much.
Kansas Cityan directing Joffrey's death, Alex Graves.
Let's go. That's awesome. But no, this is a moment of joy, a moment of bliss. And I knew it was coming, but man, I don't know. No, even that's the thing on this rewatch I think is the most surprising, is that even knowing a lot of the things that are coming, just seeing how well they're executed and how well they're done is the most impressive part now.
Yeah, you know, this is the first time I'm rewatching it in a new light where we have discussed, you know, just tons of movies and tons of TV and all this stuff, and we've gotten more analytical and a little bit more, we've refined our taste. I don't want to say we're critics by any means, because we're quite nice to most stuff we talk about unless it is absolutely horrendous. But yeah, just the way that last scene unfolds, it's like the last 20 minutes of the episode, the wedding.
Yeah, it's a long...
The way that just builds and builds and builds and builds. And the first time you watch it, you don't even really realize it's building, but you are just kind of like, man, this is just kind of, we're just kind of living in this for a second. Everything's just kind of happening. What, you know, we just had the red wedding a couple episodes ago. You're fresh off of that. You're like, okay, it's a wedding. What's going on here? And they just kind of let it breathe for a while. And it is so effectively done, dude. It is so well done.
A lot of lines that are thrown in there that are like, you know, Tyrion, I think at one point is like, well, we'll have to pay back the king some other way. You know, they throw in just little lines and then little moments where he eats the pie and he coughs and you think like, oh, like maybe he's about, you know, like, you know, I know he's about to be like, no, it's, I don't know.
And it doesn't even register with you at first. You know, he like coughs and you're like, okay. Then he keeps coughing, and as the other characters realize what's happening, you start to realize what's happening, and you're like, I remember the first time I watched it, just throwing my arms up in victory and being like, oh my fucking god, yes, like go down, die.
Many things, like a superpower that I wish I could have, that a question that everyone always asks, you know, if you could pick any superpower, what would you choose? I would love to be able to experience things for the first time again. Not much of a superpower, very selfish, but just so I could experience like Interstellar, Star Wars, everything again for the first time, but still not forget all of the love I have for it. Right. This is a very, very small example, but I would love to experience this one for the first time again, to not know it's coming at all, and just all the hatred that you have for Joffrey. Because I mean, they really build him up even more this episode. All that hatred and make you hate him.
And they give you a little they give you a little fake out, like you know, the war is over. Maybe it's time we all have some time for wisdom.
And you were like,
thank you.
Oh, Oh, look at that! A
That's
somewhat
strange,
nice
odd
moment.
behavior from the kid, but
Swing.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and then whatever. Let me just chop the book up into a bunch of pieces after.
Yeah, man. But we do have a few locations today. Only four locations.
Mm.
And we're going to work through them. We're going to start in Dragonstone, head to the Dreadfort, go beyond the wall, and then check in at King's Landing, where it all happens. So, we'll start on the beach of Dragonstone, where Melisandre presides over a public burning ceremony,
Eesh.
setting 3 people chained to stakes ablaze as an offering to the Lord of Light. When they go up in flames, she smiles. She loves what's happening, and so do the followers. One of the condemned is Queen Selyse Baratheon's own brother, Axel Florent, executed for his lack of faith in the Lord of Light. And watching the proceedings, Sir Davos Seaworth is he's appalled, but he can't say anything lest he be burned at the stake along with them.
Man, and then having what's Stannis' wife's name?
Selyse.
Yeah, Selyse. Like having Selyse just be like so.
Did you see it?
Yeah, like whether it's just she's so like in denial at the moment, or she's just fully in belief. You know,
No, she is extremely devout.
And it's
an important scene prior to this to show that it's not just like a coping mechanism. Essentially, is whenever she basically told her husband, like, "Yeah, it's okay that you fucked the Red Priestess."
Mm-hmm.
That's
like
dope.
Think the gods.
Yeah, the gods wanted that, so that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I mean, it could be all a coping mechanism.
Yeah,
you know, like the whole thing, which I mean, it probably somewhat is.
Yeah, you know, she's given birth to a lot of stillborn children, and she's kept in a dungeon most of the time.
Yeah, she's been through it. But right now, yeah, it was really rough. Just being like, oh my. Like her brother, like calling out and being like, "I'm your brother. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is crazy."
Is all like, smiles, man. She's like, "Sorry, man. This is what the Lord of Light wanted." Yeah, that's
kind of a detail I didn't really notice before, but Melisandre seemed to kind of light them up all at the same time. You know, like they were burning, but then she like said her little thing and then engulfed them all, which I don't know. I guess for followers, that'd be like, okay, well, there's something going on here, you know, and you know, she does claim, "Oh, I saw their souls all rise up. Did you see it? Did you see the Lord of Light take their souls?"
Davos is like, "Yes, your grace, I did. It was quite the sight. But enjoy. Have a good rest. Have a good rest of your evening. I don't know if I'm going to.
What do I do now? You know, that just happened, but okay. Like it's and what was is this just furthering the story of Gendry? Like, so they couldn't get Gendry because Davos let him go. Was this just like an equal trade or something? Or like
they are? I think they are trying to make up the difference. You know, like I think there's also an implication that these aren't the first 3 they've done that to recently. It seemed like everybody knew what was going on. Didn't seem like anyone was too surprised by the happenings. It just seemed like this is par for the course, and in the loss of King's blood, they have to take from their own royal family, essentially, you know, the brother of the queen.
Yeah.
It's not King's blood, but it's something, you know, let's throw it out there. Let's see.
I guess it could have just been they were speaking against the Lord of Light or something like that too.
And that's likely all it was. That, you know, Melisandre might have covered it up like, well, it will be a good sacrifice for the Lord, you know, like, but regardless, it's probably not good in any way to be burning people alive. But next up afterwards, we see Stannis and Selyse eat dinner with Melisandre as a guest at their table when they argue briefly over their daughter, Princess Shireen. Selyse believes the girl's disfigurement is a punishment from the Lord of Light, but Stannis angrily forbids his wife from trying to physically chastise their daughter for her perceived faults. Hey man, Stannis has his flaws. He is a genuinely not good guy. I
Yeah.
appreciate how he rides for his daughter, though. You
Yeah.
know?
Like, even, he knows he did something bad. He slept with Melisandre. He comes back and he lets, drops the news. But then he's like, I want to see my daughter still.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's, I don't know. Like,
he might not always treat her the best, as she is kept in a dungeon
Yeah.
in the bottom of the castle.
Yeah.
But he cares about her, and this, in his own fucked up way, is how he shows he cares about her. Like, for example, take Tywin, who has resented his child deeply ever since being born with a disfigurement in his eyes. It's not a disfigurement to be a dwarf, but nevertheless, that's how Tywin sees it. And he's like, well, you're a disgrace to the name, but you're my son, so fuck it, I guess. All the while, Stannis clearly still loves his daughter, which is more than I can say for Tywin and Tyrion.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Anywho, Selyse switches tactics and suggests that Melisandre speak to Shireen. And Stannis, he doesn't protest, but Melisandre doesn't look particularly into the idea. She's like, oh, I'm not your fucking babysitter. I am your high priestess. So that'd be a little bit beneath me, methinks. But nevertheless, she does go and speak with Shireen anyway, who heard the death of her uncle from her bedroom window.
Very good.
Lovely.
Shireen is very, she speaks her mind, She was, just right when she was coming in, like, she wasn't letting Melisandre have an inch of space, really. She was not liking it. And I don't know, not enough to get the character nod for the episode, but she was close. Just how just protest and how, just speaking to Melisandre, matter of fact, because I feel like other people would say these things and just get burned at the stake. Like, straight. I guess.
Yeah, and Melisandre all the while is like, one day maybe.
Yeah.
One day maybe.
And it does happen.
It does happen, but Melisandre. I love Shireen, and you can tell she kind of takes an influence from Davos more than anyone else. Which kind of it makes her all the more likable. That one of the most likable characters in the show is the only one she has regular contact with. But Melisandre insists and informs in a very matter-of-fact way that the faith of the Seven and its holy books, everything you've known your whole life, it's a fucking lie. Don't believe any of that. There are only two gods, the Lord of the Light and the Great Other, constantly at war. When Shireen asks if there is any truth to the faith's beliefs in 7 heavens and 7 hells, Melisandre replies, there is only one hell, the one we live in now.
It was interesting. Like, this was I don't know if it was the first time, maybe I just noticed it, but I've only heard Melisandre, just talk about the Lord of Light, and we praise the Lord of Light, everything. And maybe the Great Other is just kind of the I
think it's the Antichrist sort of deal for her.
Which is,
I'm thinking it's probably whatever gives the White Walkers their magical capabilities.
I guess
the inverse, the fire ice versus ice, the kind of cold, dead, without life.
Yeah.
Great Other.
Yeah, I know that was very. I don't know the line though that she they were both kind of clapping back and forth a little bit. Both Shireen more so just picking holes in their current situation, but Melisandre, her line of no, there's only one hell. It's what we live in now. It was a pretty.
You're like, this shit would suck. It would suck living there.
Yeah, and she's right about that. This is. I don't know. I'm glad that the problems that we have to deal with today are not getting
quite the same as this,
stabbed through me, or getting burned at the stake, or there are real problems still today. But
and several of which reflect the problems of this in a more modern context that isn't so fucking gruesome.
I guess true.
But people get jailed for their religious beliefs in different parts of the world. There are systematic genocides occurring presently. So it's like, yeah, there's some shitty stuff going on out there. But luckily, religious persecution is not at the level it is in other parts of the world. Or even, nobody's getting burned at the stake right now. Not as far as I know.
Yeah, I hope not. I really I'm saying that, like, yeah, no, these problems are all gone, but who knows? Yeah,
you're like, but that shows you how much faith you have at present.
Yeah.
You're like...
that little hesitation of like, well, maybe.
Yeah, that's enough to make you go, well, shit, doesn't that kind of suck? But nevertheless, we then head to the Dreadfort after Dragonstone, where in the forest surrounding the fort, the seat of House Bolton, Ramsay Snow hunts a woman for sport, accompanied by Reek and Miranda, along with a pack of savage dogs. And the girl, screaming in terror, running for her life. Ramsay and Miranda taunt her all the same, like, oh, you better go, you better get out of the woods, or else you're gonna fucking... They're fucking, like, this is the show's Joker, Ramsay. Yeah,
that's true. Just one
Joker and Harley Quinn here, and Miranda and Ramsay.
Gosh, I mean, they really do play him well. Like,
I fucking love the performance of Ramsay, dude.
Yeah,
like he is good
to get there. To like, he is experiencing like pure joy. Like, and it seems that way after like all of these moments. Like, even like little, like the camera just stays on him for a little longer after something just fucked up is happening. It'll show like Reek, and then how he's like, oh my god, look at what's happening to him, and then you cut to Ramsay,
and then you watch his like.
Yeah,
smile curl up on the corners, and you're like, my god.
He really is the Joker of Game of Thrones. Because, that smile. He does have a smile to him. I wonder
and like
what the
you're speaking to the like, how do you reach that place? And what's interesting is that, he's had to do some fucked up stuff. But there are other people in the show who have had to do every bit as fucked up stuff. And I'd argue the extreme at which he performs it, he goes really over the top with it. Like he is in a good way. It's not a bad way, but like he gets to be this macabre sort of just flamboyant villain, which you don't have any others that kind of equate to him in this show. So it's kind of like Joffrey, like we've always compared them as the two most petulant, evil little fucks in the realm. But Joffrey, we've already discussed how he's a little bit different version of evil, whereas Ramsay is this more calculated, matured evil compared to Joffrey. He does have thoughts of what he is going to do. He plans it out. He's methodical with it. He doesn't just go, you know what? I'm gonna pour a cup of wine on my friend's head.
Is almost like, because he has the power to. And he likes that, It's like, maybe he really wouldn't be doing this if he wasn't the king. It'd be really interesting to just see if he was just
He probably wouldn't be a normal kid, but he...
a little troubled, but I don't know. I think it's just because he's enabled to a lot. And no one will ever be like, yeah, what you're doing here is wrong.
And they make the point here to show that Ramsay doesn't have the seat of power to do the things he does. He just does them, but he gets away with it because he's like, hey man, my methods work, a
very like short scene, or I guess not short, but like I was much more in the headspace of like, oh, I'm getting to Joffrey's death eventually here, so I'm just getting there. But there was a lot
of good scenes prior to that, though.
Here, like the conversation they have was really well done. Like, going back and forth and seeing Ramsay like see the disappointment in his, I guess, father. He wants,
it's his father.
Yeah, I guess, truly his father. But seeing like the disappointment and like, he thought that this would be like a big victory whenever his dad comes back.
And he's like, okay, I'll show you how it's a big victory. That shit was hard. But I also enjoyed, like, we only figured out Ramsay was related to Roose in the finale of season 3.
That's right. Oh,
So
man. Off just like word of like someone spoke it, right? It wasn't
it was literally Roose who says like, but my son Ramsay, he has
Mhm.
his own way of dealing with
That's right.
things, and it
Yeah.
was like a slow fade up to him, and you're like, oh shit, oh yeah, okay, because I could not for the life of me remember how that was revealed, and it was very subtle, it was very well done, but I couldn't remember it. But so this is the first time we see him in his element. You know, we've talked about Bolton's being extremely fucked up. You know, the way they treat people, the way that they take joy in the suffering of others, essentially. You know, whenever Locke arrives with Roose and they go arm in arm, and he's like, I heard you took the Kingslayer's hand, and he's like, oh yes I did. How he screamed, you know, you would have loved it. Like that, these are his people, you know, this is where he belongs. He thrives here because not everyone's quite as fucked up as he is, but they're not fucked up.
It's what they're all kind of known for, and it's what they get into. It's like, you know, the Iron Islands, they're known for just doing
the flayed man is on their banners, you know.
But here it's we'll torture the fuck out of you, you know, and we'll enjoy it. Any pain that we can bring in any way, emotional or physical, they're all about it. And
we also met Walda Bolton.
That's right. Yeah, that was a very, I think, important moment, though, to have Ramsay be so accepting, you know, and just be like, you know, like, mother, like, and seeing the smile on her face as well, you know, like, she doesn't get that anywhere else. But, of course, it's coming from the most fucked up person in the realm almost.
Yeah,
you know?
so you know it's coming with a, like, he's playing it somehow, you know, you don't know how, but you know that he's not nice, you know.
At least my was for Walda, you know, like because I don't know her backstory whatsoever, but I bet she doesn't have the greatest time, you know. Around.
No, not with Roose. I can't imagine.
But at least I don't know, just seeing just a smile, even though it's not real coming from Ramsay whatsoever. Or who knows? Maybe it is. I don't know. You know, maybe like I don't know. Like.
Do you recall the reasoning that this is Roose's wife?
No, I don't.
It was said a couple episodes ago. I think it was at the Red Wedding, or before it, or after it, or something. Before it, almost certainly. He's married to Walda, a Frey, and he was offered her weight in silver.
Oh, that's right. He chose. Oh my god.
He chose the largest bride he could.
That makes this so. Oh my gosh. Now. Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just all the more like, man.
Oh.
Man. Why do we have to keep doing this to Walda? Walda's a sweetheart, man. She doesn't deserve any of this.
Just suck. Yeah. This is a house that I could just see being wiped completely from the face of the earth and being just okay with.
And it will.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. But nevertheless, Theon is brought to Roose's chambers, where Roose is disgusted and angered to learn Ramsay has tortured and flayed Theon. And I like that they use flayed this way. Because he's not literally flayed. Like the idea that they regularly, or used to anyway, break people down and turn them into this. You've tortured and flayed him. Like they flayed him of his identity, not his skin. You know, like that's...
okay. I see now. Because that's what I was taking it, I guess, very literally. Whenever, because on their banner, you know, it is just someone without skin. I'm like, are they referring to the usual skinning of people, or like just the actual breakdown of the identity?
In this context, I think it had to have been a metaphorical sense. No,
like maybe it's just like skinning someone. That's a lot of work, and they probably just die in that. Well, time.
That's the thing, is that if Reek didn't have the bargaining importance, probably would have just done that. You know, probably would have just actually flayed him. Because they do that. later on in the show. They actually do skin people alive, and you see them hung up outside of Winterfell in an X.
This is true. My head just went to a theory for a second, like maybe the House Bolton, they skinned people and they gave all of the skin and wraps to the somehow over in Essos to the faceless men or whatever.
Oh,
that
right,
house,
right.
You know, I don't know.
The Boltons have an arrangement
Yeah.
with Jock and Hagar.
Yeah, but no,
That's funny.
I think it's just they're fucked up. They're just fucked up.
No, they probably just throw it away. They're like, take it to the garbage.
Nothing at all. It's just God. No, the more I think about it, like I haven't actually thought about them doing that. No, it was just more of like the emotional breakdown of just Theon. But now just knowing that anyone
this wasn't a new thing they do, you know. But yeah, he's disappointed as he's Balon's sole surviving male heir, and he was a valuable hostage prior to this. And Roose notes that while he's been named Warden of the North, Tywin Lannister will not help him reclaim the North from the Ironborn. He only has that title and name. He has to make it a reality. And he had intended on trading Theon for Moat Cailin, a strategically placed fortress on the border between the North and the Riverlands, currently held by the Ironborn. And it prevents the main Bolton army from returning north. And Ramsay retorts that he already sent terms to Balon, and he refused. And Roose is like, excuse me?
What? You did what now?
And he's like, you made me acting Lord of the Dreadfort. I acted.
I think, Roose was he didn't like this, but he kind of was a little proud.
He respected it a little bit.
Yeah, it was like a moment of respect between them. There was like, he does say, like I put way too much trust into you and whatever. Like I should have saw this coming, whatever. But there was kind of a moment there where he was like, I probably would have done the same thing. Like you have to get your rise from somewhere. You can't just follow all the time. You gotta do your own thing eventually. And I can't believe I'm like rooting for like Ramsay here a little bit, being like, he's making his stand, he's doing something that, making his own decisions. But at the end of the day, like, it's just crazy that he is such like a big, like, he just carries on for so much longer in the show. Like, I mean, like the Battle of the Bastards, like that's just such a long ways away. Like, and it's
the
crazy.
end of season 6.
There's so much time in between here and now. Like, I felt like it should have come just sooner. I don't know why, but like, I don't remember like all the story with Ramsay, I guess. Like, I remember Reek, and that's about it.
Yeah,
But
there's
then,
a long way there. There's a long way down. But no, it is fascinating to think that he's actually in the show longer than Joffrey was.
Yeah, the bastards. The bastards just somehow they have a thing. George R. R. Martin likes the bastard characters, and I think, I don't know. It's very, even though he's so fucked up, you still have this sort of like underdog story with him. It's like you don't want to.
You associate the underdog with every bastard in the realm, especially if it's in the northern parts of Westeros, not Dorne, as we learn later on. But
oh yeah.
But yeah,
no,
it's
you're rooting for him a little bit, Yeah,
but, you want him to. Well, that's the thing, is that he also hasn't done anything to affect someone you actually like yet.
Okay.
He's
Fair.
broke Theon down, and Theon is very regretful of his choices, and you do feel bad for Theon, and this is beyond anything anyone deserves. Ramsay is a piece of shit, asshole fuck, But he hasn't done anything to directly affect anyone you actually like yet. So you kind of just like hold off on being like, at this moment you sure as shit like him more than you like Joffrey. And I would argue there comes a point later on in the show where he's every bit as terrible and awful to the people you like as Joffrey is.
Yeah, and I guess it's probably also Roose, he was the one who did stab Robb right in the heart, and like you do hate him. He did something to a character that we did really, really love. So it's very easy to hate Roose and then be like, yeah, no, Ramsay, you do whatever to get your father, him. I don't know. All I care about is Roose losing now.
Right. Yeah. And if that means Ramsay becomes, like when it comes to this fantasy realm, you start contemplating the more fucked up characters, because what if they're, I don't need them to win. I just need Kylo Ren to lose.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was thinking of, and I didn't know where it was from. I'm like, I know there's a line somewhere, and it's General Hux. That's what it was.
I don't need the Resistance to win. I just need Kylo Ren to lose. Yeah, it's a great line delivery, if not a total deviation from the character's path prior.
True.
But nevertheless, they've got a plan and they're going to try to execute it, but he's still very disappointed in Reek's state, Roose. And Ramsay has to come up with something on the fly. And he tells Reek, "How could you let me stand before my father unshaven? It is disrespectful." And it was funny that I didn't really remember this scene until it started happening, because like as soon as he popped up with like the facial scruff here, what's his name? Ewan Rion? Yeah. Facial hair can do a lot for a man.
You mean
I thought he was a good-looking man at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah,
he popped up, and I was like, "Oh, this man's kind of fucking cute." And then he got shaved, and I was like, "Ah, okay."
It went back to his. All right, now I really don't like.
Now you're completely hateable again. I don't. At least you were hot before. You're not anymore.
Beard Ramsay, yeah, and I don't know, mate. We won't hate you as much. But
beard Ramsay is a different beast than clean shaven Ramsay. But yeah, and then as soon as it started, I was like, oh yeah, this is such a good scene, man. Ramsay, cajoles him into admitting that Bran and Rickon Stark are still alive. To Roose's shock, nobody knew this yet.
Mm-hmm.
And Ramsay reminds his father that the boys are now the heirs to House Stark, and the North will flock to him if they know he's alive. They're all furious at us and at House Frey for what we did, and rightfully so, but we did that shit, so I'm cool with it.
Roose was a little, this was the kind of most obvious proud moment, I think. Here
he was like, okay.
Oh, you did get something very valuable.
Yes.
Out of Theon.
Ramsay knows how close Theon was to Robb, and he informs him, "Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to tell you, Robb Stark is dead."
As the razor is right there on his
right
neck.
At his neck, like
insane.
In the way Ramsay's like, "I'm not a true Bolton, right, Father? Shouldn't matter."
And his dad is like, "Yeah, all right, whatever, fuck it." You just have. It was Roose and what's the other just long hair, the guy who cut off Jaime's hand.
Locke.
Locke, yeah, that's right. They're just like watching, like, holy fuck. They're like, okay, like
he broke this man down.
This guy's got something to him,
Yeah, but it was hard to not go with Alfie Allen performance-wise here. This was really, really fucking good, and the entire time he's Reek is really, really fucking good. The just kind of like spastic kind of like programming almost. Like he wants so badly to slit this man's throat and be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
He is so horrified of what would happen if that happens that he can't bring himself to do it.
Yeah, and even just like whenever they're out in the woods chasing that girl, like just his facial acting, he's running along with them, and then he like when they get there and Ramsay sicks the dogs on her, like he's just watching, like like I don't know, you're right, Alfie Allen does. He's
fucking good, man. He doesn't get nearly enough credit because
He's just Reek.
For so many seasons here, he doesn't have a lot of range. He has one mode, and it's Reek. You know, he's just like that. But that in and of itself, there's not another character in this show that you can point to and go, yeah, that's anything kind of sort of like Reek. You know, like he's doing something incredibly original and hard to achieve with Reek. So I wanted to give Alfie Allen some credit. I didn't go with him for this episode, but I know there are episodes in the future I will, which is why I was kind of comfortable not going with him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just wanted to give him some credit, and Ewan Rheon. They are both, like, the fact that these two get to act off of each other for an extended period of time is really, really satisfying, because they're both really, really fucking good at playing those roles.
I wonder if, because off mic, and I think it was on Twitter, you sent like that Charles Dance apologized to Peter Dinklage a lot during the filming just for how the grotesque things he had to say. I wonder if, like, what the situation was here with Ramsey and Reek, if they were friends after it was all said and done. They went out and had like drinks with each other. Or if like,
well, and that's what's fascinating is, again, I draw myself to like the sort of fantastical macabreness of it all for them. You know, Tywin is insulting Tyrion's stature most of the time, which is like real. That is what Peter Dinklage looks like, you know. So like when the camera's shut, he's got to be like, dude, I am so fucking sorry. When it comes to this, it probably is easier to just like break it down immediately and be like, oh damn, man, that was good job. But you know, like, cause they really just get to go balls to the wall, all out. Because every scene, there's not a lot of subtlety to Ewan Rheon and Alfie Allen's performances. It usually is really just like all in your face. You know exactly how everyone's feeling. They both just get a chance to perform. And I have a feeling it would be easier to cut and be like, oh man, that was dope. Good job. You know, Alfie Allen's not actually getting tortured or anything. He's not, you know, he's not.
A very important aspect of like Charles Dance actually insulting real life stuff that sticks with Peter Dinklage. But at the end of the day, Alfie Allen doesn't have his dick cut off, and he's not actually getting tortured, and like shit.
Even his physical acting, you know, when he's running through the woods and he's like limping and stuff on the foot where his toes have been cut off.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Wow.
Yeah, you know, like his toes are there. He's just, and it's a really, really well done. Like Alfie Allen does a fantastic job as Theon for the entire run of the show. Yeah. And you know, there's a few actors in this show who just, they don't get the credit they deserve, you know, and one of them dies this week, you know, Jack Gleason, I think is his name.
Mm-hmm.
He does fantastic as Joffrey, but because you don't like Joffrey, you don't think about him being good in that role.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing goes for Ewan Rheon as Ramsey. You know, he's fantastic. You don't really, you know, Theon gets his redemption eventually, but for several seasons, you just don't fucking like the guy. And you feel bad for him, but so that makes you just kind of forget about him. And, you know, there's just so many great actors in roles that you enjoy that you just go, okay, yeah, this guy's awesome. She's awesome. He's awesome. You know, like, there's all sorts of stuff going there, but, some really talented people get lost in the weeds here. And, I'm glad that week by week we get to shine a light on them, because it's just, they deserve it. But
even the episode very dominated by King's Landing, that's for sure. But man, the Dreadfort was almost a potential for favorite scene if it just so happened that one of the most hateable characters didn't die. You know, in this episode. Pretty hard. It's like the Red Wedding. It's like I hate that it happened, but how can I choose any other scene?
Yeah, like it was just that good.
Yeah. But like that's the thing about the show, and I think on rewatch why it's that much better is, you know, the big event that's coming, but everything else that's in the episode is like, oh yeah, like I am kind of interested on this storyline. Like I do want to see where it's going, and then it's like, well, damn, this is just so well acted and so well done. Like I was just ready for Joffrey to, you know, turn purple, but But no, like I'm all for the Dreadfort scenes.
Yeah, no, this was, if there was another part of the episode that gave the Purple Wedding a run for its money, this was it. But nevertheless, Roose is very happy to have learned this information. He's also a little disappointed as Bran and Rickon are alive, but now that he knows they're alive, it's a situation he can handle. He asks Locke if he's ready for a hunt, and Reek suggests that Jon Snow might know where the kids are, either sheltering them or know where they've gone up at Castle Black. And while Ramsay advocates killing Jon as well, as you know, he's half Stark, he's a threat, you know. You already, like, just this little seed for the rivalry to come. Ramsay and Jon, fucking epic storytelling there, man. Like, I cannot wait to get to season 6. Yeah. I know that's like the first season where they are kind of off book.
Season 6?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but you can tell that one had the most direct influence from George R.R. Martin after the break off from the books, you know, because it's still ridiculously high quality. There's so much to look forward to in just the seasons to come, man. Season 4, 5, and 6 is a fucking crazy run. Yeah. Seasons 3, 4, 5, 6 even further. Like,
we're in the golden age of Thrones right now, and it's showing, you know, like there's not many storylines that you're like, well, I just want to get back to whatever else was going on. It's
every single thing.
Yeah. And yeah, Ramsay, I don't know. I get on, like, my first watch and other watches, I don't really care about him until like the battle of you know, whenever it starts to get really real. I never really cared about him much like at this stage, but I'm like fully into his character right now, like just mainly for his performance of it. Like,
Ewan Ryan does a fantastic job in this Joker-ish role. You know, he does play this just like he's very happy to cause people pain, the sadistic fuck. But nevertheless, Ramsay advocates the killing of Jon as well. Stating that the Northerners might eventually rally behind him, or he might simply seek revenge for the deaths of his family. And Roose gives Ramsay orders as well. He says, you know what? You want to help? You take Theon and an army to Moat Cailin and reclaim the fortress from the Greyjoys. That is all that matters to me right now. So you go ahead and get on that, buddy. If he succeeds, Roose will consider legitimizing him in the House Bolton.
That's all he wanted to hear. You know, that's all right. I'll do anything and everything now to get there.
Because then he has a chance at true power. You know, it's not even necessarily to feel a belonging necessarily, even though, you know, it's almost impossible that he doesn't want to have that. You know, it probably the way they treat bastards in the North, he probably would just prefer to have the legitimacy of a family name behind him. But if he does have a family name behind him, it makes it all the easier for him to become Warden of the North.
That's a scary thought. Yeah, that's just... well, I mean, he eventually is for a little bit, right? Or like, I guess that does happen.
He gets legitimized and...
Man. What a scary time for the North. It was.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's motivated. That's for sure. There's I mean,
there's to motivate
beautifully, like his story. Like there's so many angles and so many just lines of conflict in there that I don't know. Ramsay would be paying attention a little more whenever he's on screen, I think.
But yeah, next we're heading even further north, beyond the wall, where we follow the point of view of a panting figure traveling through a dark snow-covered wood. And it kills a deer, and just as the figure makes its kill, it is revealed that the figure is Summer, and that Bran Stark has been warging into him. And this warging is interrupted by Mira Reed, who says that Bran had been gone for hours. And Bran is not happy about having been snapped out of his trance. You know, he was eating.
Mm-hmm.
Jojen's like, hey man, I know it felt like you were eating, but I promise your body cannot be sustained off the food your wolf eats.
Yeah.
And
Is it
Jojen
normal for wargs to be able to actually go that long? Like, or because Jojen kind of has some, like, he has seizures every now and then and stuff like that, and like it really affects him, you know?
He doesn't warg though. He just has visions. He has the sight.
Okay. So the only other warg I guess we have seen is
Urel.
Yeah, Aurel. Okay.
Yeah,
and
I guess they never really talked about
Yeah.
how long he was able to warg.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if this is normal practice or if because of his three-eyed raven potential he is
like no problem to him. Like, it's just like I can stay in whoever I want for as long as I want, because in the future, who knows how long he's just in anyone for, and what he's controlling, or what he's controlling right now. Or before, it's like it's mind breaking to think of, like that. But we do get a single Hodor here.
we do. It wakes him up.
So I did like that.
The way it looks like the deer says it.
Yeah,
like
it was
Hodor.
a very interesting Hodor here.
I think he truly heard Hodor say Hodor.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. Like, do we count it? And I'm like,
I think we do. I don't think he's just imagining a deer said Hodor.
Yeah.
I think Hodor is speaking, and the vision or the warging he was doing, it just projected onto that.
Because, like, obviously, whenever Bran or someone else just says Hodor, we don't count that. Like, it has to come from Hodor himself, and it did come from the voice actor. So I did feel as
I feel good about that. I
don't know. Maybe I'll put in the sheet just
the deer Hodor.
Deer Hodor, just so we remember that. But yeah, just a singular, just one.
But Jojen and Mira continue to caution Bran that warging for so long is dangerous for reasons beyond the lack of sustenance. Even though it allows Bran the mobility that he lost when he was injured, he could become trapped, forgetting his friends, his family, his home, and even himself. And if Bran forgets himself, they all lose everything.
Yeah. I don't know. Jojen is very interesting that, like, they just saw this vision and was like, now I will stop at nothing. I guess, like, if you did whatever he saw, did we see, like, what he saw, or is he just, like, kind of explained?
He's only kind of said what he saw, and even then he didn't go into detail. He's just kind of been like, now I know.
I guess he was probably shown the White Walker, and somehow Bran being the one to save everyone somehow, and if he doesn't want the whole world to go, he's like, well, if this is the only way, then yeah, I'll stop at nothing to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
But my headcanon the whole time is that this is just an extension of Bran himself, like getting him there.
Imposing this unto Jojen.
Yeah,
Jojen go. Yeah.
It's like a whole. I don't know. It's every time Bran pops up, my mind always goes wild. That's for sure.
Well, this one grants you some more credence than ever. The group breaks camp and continues traveling through the forest, and they eventually come upon a weirwood tree, where Bran has Hodor take him to the tree, and Bran touches it under the face carved into it and sees a vision. And several images rush into Bran's mind, including the image of all the ravens who were there at Sam and Gilly's killing of the White Walkers, which I was like, oh, okay, there you go. There you go, Joey. I know you like that.
That was nice. That was nice to see.
Yes, indeed.
The first time we see the Night King, actually. It's through some ice or something.
Mm-hmm.
But like when he popped up, I was like, oh, I don't think we've seen him before quite yet. This vision I really liked, just because, they obviously knew where the story was going, and you see dragon flying over King's Landing, and it gives all the more credence of, like, a lot of people say Daenerys just lost it and everything, but, like, you're seeing it pretty early on, there's
and you can't tell, like, every time they cut to the capital, you can't tell if it's snowing or if it's ash, and it's kind of like there's a lot of fun speculation that came out of this vision specifically, but Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff, humans and horses and the fall that paralyzed him. He also sees the three-eyed raven
Yeah.
taking flight, sees his father sharpening ice, then
Mm-hmm.
sees him in the black cells and then being led to his execution at the Red Keep. He sees the Red Keep abandoned, covered in snow, and a shadow of a dragon flying over King's Landing. And then he also sees several images of different weirwood trees located on the top of an otherwise barren mountain. And during the vision, a gravelly voice tells Bran to look for me beneath the tree.
The ghost of Ned Stark still everywhere. You know, even in this vision. I think I was wondering why Ned was in here, and I was. It was maybe because of, like, the line Jojen was saying, like, you'll forget your family, you'll forget everything, you know. And this vision was kind of to remind Bran, like, oh yeah, like I know I have all these powers and everything is all good, but I do still have my family, and there is this threat that I don't quite know of what it is yet, but I do, I guess, need to save everybody, you know. And he comes out of it, and he's kind of his stoic Bran already, you know, like he's already, like, the line delivery of I know where we need to go, or like I know where I need to go now. Like it was very like kind of getting to the three-eyed raven speak that he, you know, his just, I don't know what to call that, like his monotone, very, very blatant.
His unfeeling robot head ass for seasons.
Was kind of the first time I heard it here. And yeah, this I love all the Vision stuff and obviously everything, and it's crazy just thinking that in season 4 they're going to throw in a Vision of stuff that doesn't even come into play until the very, very end of the show. And that's just, I don't know, insane to me that, like, while all of this stuff is going on, you know, yeah. Well,
it's also vague enough to, they're like, Daenerys will get to King's Landing. You know, does she destroy it, or does she, you know, is she prevail in some glorious victory? You know, like it's just vague enough, but now that we do know the ending, we can project it onto it and be like, oh man, this was in the works from the jump, you know, like that's,
man. Yeah, it would have been a blast to, like, cover this week by week when it came out. Like if I was just like, I mean, what, this is like 2014 right now or
gotta
something?
be, yeah.
Right? So like, yeah, I was 14 years old. There's no
April
way.
April of 2014.
There's no way I could cover it to the level that we do other shows, but like just to be part of that hype and part of like the speculation and all of that. Like,
I think we got to experience a special time in Thrones fandom, the periods between season 6 and 7 and the periods between 7 and 8. Like when that show was, because I think after 6 they announced that it would be 8. They were like, there's 2 more seasons and that's it. So like it became like, oh shit, okay, what's gonna fucking happen? You know, like there became an urgency that you had to, like,
yeah, everyone was trying to figure it out, and everyone was putting their theories out there. And you have George R. R. Martin and all them being like, yeah, I think one of you got it right, like on one of those posts. I look at them every now and then, but yeah,
I will tell you which one. Yeah,
it's like, and that just fuels the fire even more, you know.
Yeah.
People,
so they're like, all right, let's scour the internet for what might have been, you know. Like,
somebody's got it, all right. You know, somebody's got it out there.
We just got to find that person. Yeah, that concludes the story north of the wall, and it was a nice little check-in with Bran. But yeah, even so, you know, like I mentioned that we only have 4 or 5 episodes with Bran in both seasons 4 and 6. And even so, it was 2 scenes in this one episode. Like he's hardly in this fucking episode. You know what I'm saying? So like the lack of time spent with Bran becomes very fascinating.
And when you bring him up, he is very, like, that crucial, you know, and when he pops up, there's a lot of just future implication stuff that happens, and maybe that's why they only bring him up very selectively. Because, I don't know, other than him just traveling north, like, if there's any interesting story with him, it is his three-eyed raven and his powers and everything, and that takes so much calculation, and like you can't really have him have a vision of, I guess, I don't know, they could have a vision that's wrong, you know, and it doesn't all have to be right, but if he is this omniscient he's all knowing. You
Yeah.
can't really have it just be like, oh, well, one of his visions was wrong, and we're just leading you the wrong way.
And that's why they have to keep it this vague. It's so that they do have options,
Yeah.
and they don't give away everything to come. So, like, I think this was a really good scene. That was another one of those things where, like, in the building to the ending, I was like, damn, this episode's got some fucking memorable moments. There's a lot of stuff here that I was like, this is, because I remembered very distinctly the hunting for the girl through the woods at the Dreadfort. I remembered Bronn training Jaime. I remembered this vision. But I did not know that all came in the same episode here. Yeah, I'm sorry if you can ever hear my dogs behind me. They're really going at it back there.
That's great. Like, I don't remember Bronn training Jaime. I don't remember the hunt through the woods. Like, I don't know. That's crazy that you can, like, remember.
Well, no, and that's the thing is that, like, I didn't remember, like, there's just certain memorable things about those scenes. Like, the hunt through the woods, it's one of those moments where I'm just like, my God, you're like really, really again, Ramsay's fucked up. That he's torturing Theon, but you also don't really give a shit about Theon. Then you see this girl who's very, very, very likely undeserving of this fate, being hunted for sport. And you're like, okay, well, Ramsay's disgusting. Okay. Yep. That's enough. Yeah, man, it's a fucking just a wild chain of events here. But we do then head to King's Landing, where over a meal, Jaime and Tyrion discuss Jaime's gilded steel hand, and he discloses to Tyrion that he can no longer fight. And Tyrion's like, what about your left? And he's like, well, I mean, like, I can do it, but all my instincts are wrong. Like, I'm not the same. And Jaime is perturbed at the thought that people will find out that he can't fight. So Tyrion tells him he needs to train with his left hand with someone trustworthy in order to better protect the king. And he's like, I have just the sellsword.
I got just the guy for you. Yeah.
When Jaime like knocks over the wine accidentally, and Tyrion's like, it's just wine, man. No big deal. We're all good.
Oh, like, yeah, I don't know. Tyrion is, character is the only thing where I don't know this episode. And I have Tyrion slotted in there right now. And it might just be for how bad I feel for him throughout the episode, but also moments like this where he's like actually being just very, very nice.
Whenever the whole play is being played out later on by the other dwarfs, and Rob's head is about to come off, and he like takes Sansa's hand, and you're like, that's a good dude, man. Like he's trying his best.
At the end of this, he's like, give him 20 gold at the end of this play. Like,
exactly.
Everything Tyrion does in this episode is kind of like, man, like, I feel terrible for him, what's happening right now, but I'm also reminded of the fact that he is one of the good ones in the show, like, and I guess, I don't know.
And that's what this sequence of events serves to put on display, is who the good people are.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to get to that part because
I don't want to jump the gun.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited to get there though. But later on, Jaime waits in a courtyard by the sea for his training partner that Tyrion has arranged. And it is Bronn. Bronn arrives, and interestingly enough, this is a diversion from the books. The books, it was the tongueless guy, who the king's headsman.
Really?
Yes, he trained Jaime because he literally can't speak to anybody.
Can't talk. Wow, I guess that makes literal sense.
Yeah, like there's nobody to tell at that point. But there actually is kind of a sad backstory as to why that didn't happen. The actor was diagnosed with cancer, and he was in like chemotherapy. So like they had to do something else. They didn't want to recast the role in case he recovered, and he wanted to return to the role. So they just went ahead and were like, fuck it. It's a chance to give Bronn some more screen time, like everybody loves Bronn. Let's give Bronn some more shit. So, pretty big change because he trains with Bronn for some time, Bronn
eventually, like, I mean, they're like in battle with each other and stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah. He kind of shifts from being Tyrion's right-hand man to Jaime's right-hand man.
I wonder if that was always in the cards as well, or if it was
doubt it.
Off of this, that they were like, well,
They have they do have great chemistry, like bordering on the chemistry that Peter Dinklage and him have. Even though that's going to be hard to top. They've got some incredible chemistry, but Nikolaj Coster-Waldau and him, they do a good job. But he emerges with 2 training swords, and Jamie's like, I haven't used a fucking sparring sword since I was a child. And he's like, yeah, but if you used an edged blade, I'll have to use an edged blade. And if I use an edged blade, I'll have no one left to pay me.
Braun is so, oh God.
And how about the fuck, this is what I love about this show, man. How about the location?
Yeah.
This is real. This is not, they're not in the volume. This is a place they went to and shot this scene. Fucking glorious. Thank you for that. You know?
Yeah. They do even bring attention to it. Yeah, they're like, wow, what a place this is here. And
He's like, yeah, this man, I fuck his wife here. Yeah. She's a screamer. They don't hear her, they won't hear us.
Yeah. I didn't even think about the actual location, but yeah, you're right. Like that's
gorgeous,
a real place.
Gorgeous place. Yeah. You know, and I'm so curious. I'm like, where is that specifically? Can I go there? And you clearly can. They filmed there, that's just a gorgeous little location with the sea at their side, the lapping of the waves that kind of covers the sounds coming from there is it's just a gorgeous place. But
in Croatia, that's
where
I'm gonna have
that's where King's Landing is.
Port of Trsteno, Trsteno, Trsteno.
Yeah, that
maybe.
feels.
Possibly, I guess maybe is the location of it.
Cool. Yeah, it's just beautiful. And
yeah.
I just thought that, I wanted to draw attention to it as soon as I saw it, because I was like, I just appreciate the lengths this show went to make shit look good. Scouting locations is a whole other aspect of filmmaking and creation and on screen that you just don't really think about. And it's why the volume has become a more normal practice, is because it prevents you from having to go pay someone to go find us places and we'll see,
man,
a controlled environment. But there's something just so raw and real about this setting that you're just like, this is fucking beautiful, man. There's nothing you can't. There's this thing with the volume where you look at it after it's the volume, you can tell it's the volume.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing, I don't think. I think that it's a whole other ball game for the VFX artists to be able to create an environment like that is so photorealistic and is so impressive. But it's still not the real thing. You can tell when it's the real thing. This
even sometimes they actually do go out to a location and they photo scan it all, to get the real location, but you can still kind of tell, it's in the volume. I don't know, there's some camera shot or angles and shots that you just can't do in the volume that you just can do in real life,
and that's why when the volume works well, it's incredible. It's incredibly effective. You're like, holy shit, I would never have thought this. But there are a lot of people who aren't meticulous enough with it and don't give it the time it deserves and to make it look right. And
you don't
that's one of the advantages to filming on location that Game of Thrones does.
You don't have to think about all that. It's in camera, already beautiful as is, Yep.
And
I wonder,
only problems might come from lighting or weather or something.
How the sun is oh, well, it's raining. We don't really want this to be, a scene while it's raining. It wouldn't really look as good. So they just got to wait for weather. That's about it. But yeah, you're right. This, a great location. I think I just don't think about while watching, but
yeah, no, it's gorgeous. But, as they commence training, Bronn uses his usual, dirty tactics, and Jamie's like, okay, some shit you're doing, buddy. That's not fair. And he's like, shit's never fair, man. You got to pick up your sword and just start fighting, man. Fight dirtier. That's the only way you'll win with your left. And just watching them spar it out for a second. And again, the physical acting and the blocking of the scene and the staging and stuff, Jamie looks unnatural with his left hand.
Yeah.
and he's just got to do the things he's doing, and it's really well done. But next up, we see Tyrion find Varys on his way to breakfast for the celebration on the day of Joffrey's wedding, and Varys divulges that Shay has been spotted and that his sister Cersei has been notified. And Varys says then that there is nothing he can do to protect Shay any longer in fear of Tywin Lannister or Cersei finding out that he has been lying to them.
Yeah, I really, really like that line from Varys where he was like, Tyrion was like, yeah, just come up with some creative lie. You're good at, it's what you do, whatever. And he's like, no, I don't have a sellsword to defend me. I don't have all of this, whatever. All I have is my word and my.
I don't have a family name, like I'm only as good as the information I have. So I'll omit the truth, but I won't lie. Like that's
Varys, another one of the good ones. I guess I would like him to lie for Tyrion here, but he's a very principled man.
You completely understand why he's not doing so. Yeah.
No, not mad at him whatsoever. But Varys, yeah, he's just I guess this. I don't know, the count, like him just on the count, like he's probably my favorite council member that there is. Like, I don't know, I'm struggling to think of other people that go above him, but his story is
he's got to, at this state. He's got to be. Well, I mean, Tyrion, master of coin.
True. Okay, fair enough. But Varys, I think Varys' story is just the from nothing, eventually gathering all of his secrets and making his way to where he is now. Just very, very small, times that he's in the show. He doesn't get a lot of time and stuff, but when he does, I love him.
Yeah, he shines, man. Sorry about the mic jostling around. My dogs ran around and knocked it over and bucked it about. But yeah, no, you're right. Conleth Hill also does a fantastic job in that role. He, that whenever he like parts ways with him and he's like, you need to do something about it. And he does like the quick bow to try and like put on a display for everyone around them that looks like he's being cordial, but he's being like fucking do something about it.
Father to make an idle threat sort of thing. He's like, do you know who your father is? All right, I gotta go. But yeah, I don't know. Looking at his IMDb picture, he's just full beard and hair.
Yeah.
And it's weird just looking at him like that.
Yeah, no, I remember a bunch of stuff from the behind the scenes, like featurettes and stuff in between like seasons where he just clean shaved at the beginning of every day.
Wow.
And then as soon as the season ended, as soon as filming wrapped, he'd grow it out again, and then he'd grow it out again, and then he'd shave it again. It was like it's not his look. Apparently, he doesn't like the pure hairless look that he was putting on, which can't blame him.
Yeah.
But we then head to the breakfast celebration itself, where Mace Tyrell gifts Joffrey a magnificent golden chalice with 7 faces, one for each of the major houses in the 7 kingdoms, and wishes him and his daughter, Marjorie, a long and happy marriage. And Joffrey politely accepts, clearly bored with how cordial everything is. He'd much prefer someone die. And lucky enough for him, someone does. Cersei then spots Shay and tells Tywin that she, that's her. That's Tyrion's whore. And he's like, have her sent to the Tower of the Hand.
Yeah.
Just knowing how that goes, you're like, oh man.
Yeesh. Yeah, I don't know how else Tyrion could have handled it, but I feel like something like if you I guess he has just tried to tell the truth before, and I guess like to him it's like it's not getting through, so he has to try to go about it some other route. But I don't know, I feel like it could have just been handled some other way. But I mean, it does make sense. There's a whole lot of other obligations Tyrion has at the time, and it just the world isn't as simple. It's very much easier to think about it all in hindsight and after the fact. But yeah, it's just I don't know, one story that always is just like, man, I wish that one could have worked out somehow. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I guess it's like the Red Wedding. You know, I wish Rob could have gone on and won and everything.
But hey,
would the show have been as good? I don't know.
yeah,
You know,
things work out the way they work out, and sometimes that makes you unhappy. But man, it makes for good TV. But yeah, after this, Tyrion overhears and is like, "Oh God, oh fuck, oh shit, oh damn." But he proceeds to approach Joffrey, and Podrick Payne, Tyrion's squire, presents him with The Lives of Four Kings, a book detailing the reigns of four kings by Grand Maester Keth. And Joffrey accepts the gifts, but his sincerity seems questionable. You know, he's, after the war, we should all make time for wisdom. And Tyrion kind of looks at him puzzled and is like, the fuck are you plotting? You know, he's like, the fuck are you getting at? But he's happy with the way this goes, and he goes and sits down. And then a member of the King's Guard then presents a Valyrian steel sword. And Tywin tells him that it is one of two swords of its kind in the capital. And Joffrey pulls it out and is very excited. And, Grand Maester Pycelle states, like, be careful, nothing cuts like Valyrian steel. And Joffrey sees fit to test that theory. So he goes ahead and begins slashing Tyrion's book. Despite its rarity, you know, books aren't mass printed at this time.
Nope, that is a one-of-one book, probably.
One book exists that depicts the reigns of these kings.
It's like I watched like a thing recently of how books were made and like the whole process of like the evolution of all that. And like a part that didn't really hit me is that like we have the internet, so like things are just kind of, as long as there's power, information is forever almost, you know, now. But back then it was like all information, like everything that we knew at the time was put in a book or on like a tablet or on something physical.
Whatever they could write on.
Yeah, and I love anytime I'm kind of reminded of that. And like this was, book getting destroyed. I didn't like that part, but it was like a nice, just kind of like, oh man, what a.
Well, you watch Tyrion's face and the way it like physically pains him.
Yeah.
You know, it's not because Joffrey is destroying the book that he got him. Oh no, he didn't like my gift. It's because he treasures knowledge, and that book contained knowledge that every king, in his words, should possess. Yeah,
it's like Varys saying, like, I don't have my name, I don't have all of that. Tyrion is kind of the same. He does have the name, but not really. You know, no one really looks at him like a Lannister.
Yeah, no one treats him the same.
And all he has is his knowledge, you know, and his strategy. And that's what he's good at. And it's like the principle of, wow, Joffrey didn't even have a thought of actually reading this, you know, like it could have done him good, you know, if he read it. And now the book is gone. There's so many layers of like, of why he's pissed, but it's not because of like, yeah, it's just the gift. Like he's used to Joffrey bullying him all the time, or him just getting bullied in general. So yeah, it's not that, it's the knowledge, the
loss of it. But, after he does this, after he slashes it to bits, he then questions to the audience, to the attendees, what he should name it. And he hears several shouts, you know, I can't remember a lot of the names, but one of them shouts out, Widow's Wail! And he's like, yes, Widow's Wail, I like that. Every time I use it, it'll be like chopping off Ned Stark's head all over again. And,
just fucked up. Do you have to be? Like, one, he doesn't even name his own sword. He's not even creative enough to do that. He has to take it from the crowd, whatever. I thought
he takes credit for everyone else's work. He did not cut off Ned Stark's head.
Nope.
And you know what's even worse is that I fully believe he believes he did. You know?
Because I guess he just, he's like, he gave the order, you know, I guess. And it's just, at that point, he sees it as that's what he did. Anything that happens in the realm is his. Like the battle that he fought, he was the one who brought Stannis to his knees, you know, and that's just, we obviously know, and everyone in the castle knows, but the people, If they weren't there at the time to see Joffrey run away, it's only the military that really knows. But like if Joffrey speaks it like this, then everyone else will think that it's also him, you know. So it's like Joffrey's just pure, just I don't know what to call it, just insanity of thinking that he's actually doing this. But it's also like he needs to have the people think that he's the one doing all of this, or else he's nothing. Like he doesn't have anything else. But yeah, Widow's Wail, like just how they can write every line that he says to just be so cruel. Like everything that comes out of his mouth, even if it starts out as like, oh wait, maybe he is turning a new leaf, and no, he's not. You know, there's zero redemption for this guy.
There's nothing for him. Not a long future for him. But yeah, after the breakfast, Tyrion is visited in his chambers by Shay, and he informs her that there's a ship waiting for her bound for Pentos, and that their friendship is at an end. Realizing that Shay will defiantly refuse to flee in the face of danger, he concludes the only way to convince her to leave is to brutally reject her. He tells her at an enormous pain to himself as well to her that she is only a whore and he cannot love her. Sansa is a suitable mother to his children, a suitable wife. Shay is not. So she must leave. He can't love her.
Just a hard scene to watch.
Yeah. And again, like a very singular scene, you know, like I was watching it and I was like, we don't get like a lot of breakups in Game of Thrones, you know? Like this is just
usually it's by a death or like, you know, that's usually
someone dies and the relationship is over.
You're right. Yeah. This and Tyrion, you know, like him, you're a whore, you know, well, you've been 500, 5,000 and Shay being like, well, you've obviously had your fair share, and
I've enjoyed my time with all of them, you most of all, but
like he's trying to like be nice, but he knows that he can't because that's his plan to get her to leave. And it's just like this, it was just really hard watching Tyrion both of them, I guess, have to go through this. And it's just always weird just knowing where the story does go. But like in my head canon, I wish Shay just would have gone on that ship, you know, and then maybe after the war was over, Tyrion, he says, you know, maybe I'm not the best hand, you know, maybe you pick your own hand. I'm off to see my lady in Pentos or wherever he says he's gonna, where the boat is going. But
no, I mean shit, he ends up fleeing the country by the end of this season anyway.
True. That is true. He does. Wow, he does go and join Daenerys over there, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could have just waited a little bit. But I guess she was discovered, and Cersei and
she needed to go.
Tywin knew, so that's the difference. Yeah, that time wasn't really on their side anymore. Man.
No, yeah, but it's no good. He invites Bronn in, tells her to escort her to her ship, and she slaps him and runs out. And then, furious and brokenhearted, when Tyrion later asks Bronn if she is gone, he confirms that she boarded the ship. Nothing beyond that. She boarded the ship. And when Tyrion asks if he saw it sail away, Bronn assures him that no one has been following him while escorting her, that she is gone, and no one knows about it except the two of them and Varys. And he then advises Tyrion to go and drink until it feels like he did the right thing.
Yeah, that's, you know,
Bronn's a contender this week, you know, for character.
Really well. Now that we're talking about him, because he was like, he threw in there like, I know you want to like still think that she's here a little bit, or you know, I know that you don't want to believe that she's actually gone, but she is. You know, go drink and forget about it. You know, and we know that it comes back a little bit. That it's not truly over quite yet, but no, Bronn, yeah, I don't know, training Jaime, this little convo he has with Tyrion here, like, and I don't know, Bronn he's always a real one, just that real life person inserted into the show. Like he just seems like he could fit in today's world. Maybe a little misogynistic and sexist and stuff like that. But other than that, Bron's a pretty chill guy.
No, he's a good dude, ultimately. I know that for the time, I mean, in modern day, no, but for the show, good man. Yeah. Relatively.
It's always a weird thing.
He's got an asterisk next to the good man.
Kind of every character in the show kind of does.
Yeah, a little bit. But after that, we head to Joffrey and Marjorie's wedding ceremony, taking place in the Great Sept of Baelor, which will eventually be both of their resting places. Conducted by the High Septon, and they are wed in front of gods and men. At his wedding feast, King Joffrey speaks to the crowd about contemplating history. But just everything that happens. This is a very reductive breakdown here. Like at the wedding, seeing all the faces, seeing everybody watch them unite in marriage, and Sansa being like, "We officially have a new," and Tyrion saying, "Better her than you," Like,
oh yeah,
being queen is not worth being married to that piece of shit.
Nope, no, and that's why House Tyrell was like, as soon as this wedding is official, we are getting rid of Joffrey. It's like,
we will kill him.
Yeah, I don't want Marjorie to be married to Joffrey at all, but we want her to be queen. And that's how they went about that. But yeah, it was like seeing, like cutting into the crowd, seeing Sansa and Tyrion. Like Sansa and Tyrion actually had some, like
it was finally like
warming up to each other. I guess
Sansa officially gets that Tyrion means well for her. Like she's always known that he did, but she could hardly look at him because he wasn't Lannister. I think she's starting to realize that he's not. He's not like them. He doesn't even like them. And I appreciate it's kind of she's kind of having a similar arc with Tyrion, what Arya is with the Hound at this moment. Kind of being like, oh shit, you know what? You're not as bad as I thought. I kind of fuck with you, dog. Like it's
And even more sadly, like at the reception, it's kind of more of like seeing him just get bullied in front of everyone, and she's just like, oh man, like I realizing that like he's kind of in a cage himself,
Yeah, he's put through the same things at the hands of Joffrey that she was, the same ridicule, the same bullying, not exactly the same ways. Hers is a little bit more scarring, I would imagine, being a young girl
as well. That I mean, Sansa is definitely taking the cake here.
Oh yeah, if we're discussing the trauma Olympics,
but
Sansa's taking the gold.
Yeah, she does see it though in Tyrion, and it's at like whenever. I guess I'm jumping the gun here. I'm going to mention one little thing of the reception, and then I'm just going to go crazy.
No, I mean like we're at the reception now, so you're good.
Okay. But yeah, like even whenever the cup is knocked over and kicked under the table, and she's the one to actually pick it up for him and hand it to him. And it's kind of like a nice, just no words were spoken, but a nice, just kind of like
a solidarity, like like kind of like a I see, because she hasn't really been there beyond at his own what at their own history does to Tyrion, Like whenever, and Tyrion was drunk enough to fight back that day. Whenever he was like, I can't remember the exact threat he made, but he made a threat about cutting off his dick, essentially. And and Sansa was like, "Oh, okay, goddamn," like there's kind of there's a mutual respect more than anything, I think. And but as the festivities, commence, there's several people come and wish them well in their endeavors and everything, and several people go and have conversations about all over the place. It's a really wonderful plethora of faces coming together for one of the first times and kind of seeing them interact. We see Jaime and Loras talk. We see Oberyn really seductively try to hit on Loras and then also tell off Tywin and Cersei to their faces.
Oh yeah. No, a royal wedding at, we got everything you could have wanted here. The ending is fantastic and great, and I think that's what everyone remembers. But having all the characters here and I don't know, having these interactions that we probably won't get again, a lot of
Nope.
like at all. So yeah, you're right. It's very tainted by Joffrey's death, but everything that comes before is very nice. Like even Brienne, coming up and talking. Like I'm trying to think of who else showed up, but Oberyn was a nice treat.
There's something about Oberyn that I can't resist picking every time he does anything. He also got my line this week. He's my favorite character and my favorite line, Oberyn Martell. And it was just simply for his gall in the face of Tywin and Cersei, and also the steadfastest in like what's like right. He's righteous, self-righteous, and he's right to be. He is a good person compared to them when he says, people everywhere have their differences. In some places, the highborn frown upon those of low birth. In other places, the rape and murder of women and children is considered distasteful.
Yeah, we were talking about Bronn being that real life person inserted into the show. I think Oberyn is probably maybe even closer to that. Like
he's the most modern man.
Yeah, and Dorne, I guess, is just kind of maybe just that for
it's
the
a
story.
Fucking utopia compared to everywhere else.
Yeah, it's and you wouldn't want to be anywhere other than Dorne. But no, I see. And I didn't even think about picking Oberyn for the character, but you're like, he did tell off, I don't know, kind of.
Nobody does that.
Yeah, no,
nobody looks Tywin Lannister and Cersei Lannister in the eye and tells them, y'all are fucked up. Like, nobody does that. And he did that. And I fucking loved it. And plus, I have a bias. I have a definite bias towards Pedro Pascal. So there's a good chance that in the 7 episodes he's a part of, he might go 7 for 7. I don't know yet. We'll see.
No problem. I don't see a problem in that because we only get him for this season.
Yeah, man. And he's fucking good while he's in it. But yeah, and then on the flip side, this is where everything comes in. Like the wedding, basically the entire wedding is my scene. Because I know it's like split up into little sections. I don't really know how to consider where the scene breaks are. It kind of feels like one giant scene. But everything comes into play here. I got Oberyn for my character in line. This scene is my favorite scene. And then my favorite performance is Lena Headey. As Cersei Lannister. From the jump of everything that pops off at this wedding and every single scene she's been in so far, kind of like whenever Joffrey, presents the retelling of the War of the Five Kings, and she's kind of sitting there with like a smile on her face the whole time, and then whenever Brienne comes up and bows, and she's like, "Did you just bow?"
Yeah,
and she can't contain herself.
Talk about like Ramsay and how he's kind of like has that Joker smile, and like he loves all the sick, twisted stuff. Cersei, like, she was doing a lot of that this episode.
Yeah.
Especially like when Joffrey was like, or Marjorie, Marjorie the whole time is just trying to be like, all right, Joffrey, you're fucking our wedding up. Let me just try to distract everyone at any chance you get. Like, oh, the pie. Oh, maybe we make our announcement now, and she's like,
dear, come here. Return to me, please.
And then she's like, yeah, we're gonna give all the food, all the leftovers to the poorest of the poor. And yeah. But then you get Cersei going off to Maester Pycelle.
The leftovers will go to the dogs.
You're just like, oh my god, this woman, and also Maester Pycelle trying to get, in the pants of whoever that.
Just some young girl.
And at least Cersei stopped that from happening.
Yeah, she was like, and your gnarled fingers wrapping around that girl's thigh. That's right.
But then seeing like just her after that interaction, like she's walking away, I think, and Tywin's like, why are you so happy? I don't even want to ask. And she's just like, small victories, small thing. It's like, oh my god, you are twisted. Like she is She is evil. Like,
Yeah, and that's the thing is that like she's so evil and petty that even this, it is inherently evil to take food out of the mouths of the hungry and give it to dogs who will be well fed anyway.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
But the reason isn't because she hates poor people.
No.
The reason is because she wants to feel like she has the power to do that.
Yeah.
Not because she's like, oh, I just don't like them. They don't deserve, like, they don't need that. And that's part of it, obviously, but
like the wedding to her is only her losing her queen regent title. Like that's like pretty much like it's her son getting married and everything, but like, and she doesn't want it to happen in the first place because she loses
Oberyn pokes fun at her for that.
Right,
yeah.
You're right. Former
queen regent, right? This is Lord Han Tywin Lannister and Lady Cersei.
Yeah, that was, oh man, Oberyn is such a good pick here because
I fucking love that guy.
Okay, ooh, I don't know, I might have to, because Tyrion, I think it was more of like just out of like sadness that I picked Tyrion.
Yeah, it's like a pity pick.
And I don't know, we don't get Pedro for long, and he really he let him know. I think we can give him both the character. I want him numbers,
2 for 2 on the character sweeps in Martell.
You're right. I mean, come on. Yeah, that I forgot about the former queen regent.
Yeah, man. He's like the only person who's even come close to poking fun at Tywin and Cersei the way that he does is Olenna. But Olenna doesn't do it in a way that's like, I'm here to kill you. Yeah. Oberyn's like basically very veiled threatening them. He's like
your line, like rape and like that's something that's very distasteful, and he's like, that's what happened. Your daughter, luckily she's over in Dorne right now. He's like, luckily there.
Your daughter's in one of the places where the latter is the case.
Yeah.
And,
poking at like what happened, to his family, and he's like, yeah, that's what I'm here to do. And eventually he's very clear in his why he's there, while he's fighting the mountain, and it's eventually his demise. But no, I don't know. I think I was distracted by everything else that was going on this episode. But Oberyn, no, I'm definitely comfortable switching from Tyrion over to him because he does deserve it here for this episode.
That's there's just so many more opportunities I'll get to pick Tyrion and stuff. I was like, while Oberyn's here, I'm gonna make sure I make it known how much I love that guy. But we'll then get to it doesn't go over this. I want to touch on a few things that happen here. The conversation between Jaime and Loras.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you marry her, she'll kill you in your sleep, right? And if you do manage to put a child in her belly before then they'll die too.
Like, man. I mean, even before that, he kind of started out friendly, and they had like kind of like a laughing moment, almost. And then he turned it on a dime and was like, "Yeah, no, this isn't happening." Like, not gonna.
You will not marry her.
Ever.
Neither will you.
Yeah, Jaime thinks he won there, and then that last little line that tap on the shoulder, like, neither will you. They see, it's very obvious. But I don't know that they didn't include that in the breakdown because that's like a.
Fucking dogs, man.
Just want to play. That's all they know.
No, he's digging under stuff and grabbing, eating things he shouldn't be eating. Oscar will eat anything. He's a fucking garbage disposal. If he can chew it up and swallow it, he will do that.
Yeah, I mean, dogs are dog. We talk
baby
like
dogging.
Yeah, they don't have that concept of tomorrow. I guess maybe it's like they're just living for the day, and he's kind of Bran. They're warging into a wolf. Just he's hungry. He's eating. That's what they want to do. But yeah, I can't believe they didn't put that in the breakdown though between Jaime and Loras. in there.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of surprised, but then you also get the conversation between Cersei and Brienne. You know, the mirroring, kind of them being possessive of each other.
Yeah, they both talk to each other's other lover or like
Yeah.
kind of person right now. Yeah, I didn't even realize that. But yeah, because does Brienne come up first, or does Jaime talk to Loras first?
Jaime talks to Loras first. And it might be paced in a way that Brienne talks like presents her good tidings. It cuts over to Jaime and Loras. It cuts back to Brienne and Cersei talking to each other. And, you know, he's like, and the way she's like, he saved my life more times than I can count. She's like, oh, really? I haven't heard that story.
Really? Yeah, that's interesting to me. And I like forget what leads up to the moment, but eventually she's just like, you love him, you know, like obviously you love him, and Brienne, she doesn't have anything, you know, it's pure silence. Like how do you tell Cersei, someone who's crazy like that, like, yeah, I do love your brother, which you love as well, and you don't want anyone to get with either, even though she has like said to Jaime that she's moved on, which is interesting, you know, like last episode you get Cersei being like, and Jaime being like, yeah, it was too long, you know, like things have happened, things have changed, and it seems that Cersei's kind of moved on a little bit, but here she's still very possessive, you know, and very
well, and that's the thing, is that while she might not love him the same way she once did, or think of him the same way she once did, she doesn't want him to move on.
Yeah.
You know, he's moved from being her priority to a fallback. You know, he's like, he's hers forever, even if she might not be his, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. You're right. I can't believe I didn't notice the duality that was going on there, like Jaime and Loras and Cersei and Brienne here. But yeah, I don't know how I didn't just put that together, that they're both just talking to the opposition, you know, basically here. But man, yeah, I don't know. Cersei is very interesting in that fact. Like she kind of, I guess she's all just very power hungry, and she likes to hold the power wherever she can. And this is just another way of her showing that. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was left out here. No, no problem. I was reading through the breakdown, and it is kind of crazy. They just jump into like the
straight
play
to the retelling of the,
and yeah, like they do kind of leave a lot of stuff kind of out there, which is
there's way too much stuff that happens there that you to not touch on. You know, the way that Cersei and Brienne, you know, that conversation where, you know, one thing that does feel a little unearned to me is that I remember knowing Brienne was in love with Jaime. I don't think they've done a lot to show us that. You know, like whenever she says you love him though, and there's like just this silence. I don't know. I haven't really gotten that off of Brienne. I knew that she like she'd only recently grown to respect him and stuff. And realize that he does keep his oaths. You know, it's just that he was forced to break the biggest oath he's ever broken.
Yeah,
I guess I could project it onto what's happened, but like
there hasn't really been much. You're right. Like the scene in the bathtub, whenever he does tell her whole story, or Jaime tells, you know, it all. I think there was a moment there where Brienne was like, okay, like I see.
Like I respect this guy at the very least.
But it wasn't, I'm trying to...
And that's why I'm like, maybe the way that I'm going to headcanon this is that this is kind of a dawning of realization for her. Like she didn't realize she loved Jaime until this was said.
Okay. Yeah, because she does kind of... I thought it was more of like, she obviously just can't tell Cersei, because she knows that she loves Jaime, and like how are you gonna tell Cersei like, yeah, no, I do love your brother, and who knows if she's just gonna die right then and there. I'd be scared of Cersei. That's just kind of how I was taking it. But maybe it is more of like like he did save me a couple times, like and yeah, like maybe I do have some feelings for him. But I don't know. Yeah, you're kind of right. There wasn't ever like a love inclination that Brienne has shown. It's really only been Jaime kind of showing that towards Brienne.
Yeah, no, it is interesting, but I enjoyed this little conversation and this parting of ways, like, because Cersei and Brienne, I don't think they ever speak to each other again.
Yeah,
you know, I don't think that Jaime and Loras have many interactions after this. It's just a bizarre coming together here, but.
Yeah, I just watched her reaction again, and I think you're more kind of, you might be more spot on of that. It's like like realizing for herself in the moment, sort of thing. Because I guess up until this point, they've just been through one crazy thing to the next. They haven't really had the time just to really sit down and think about it. You know, I think the only time was whenever they were in House Bolt, you know, in wherever in the Dreadfort or wherever, and like Jaime was trying to cut up his steak, whatever, and Brienne just stabs it for him, you know, and lets him cut it up. Like never like a cute like, oh, like you two like each other, you know, like, or I don't know, not many of those moments at all.
No, yeah, it is just, I think she just kind of, it all hits her at once, and she's like, oh shit, maybe I do. But next up, Joffrey speaks to the crowd about history. And out of a large golden lion, 5 dwarves ride out representing Joffrey, Renly Baratheon, Stannis Baratheon, Robb Stark, and Balon Greyjoy, each of the 5 kings in the War of the 5 Kings. And they all put on a performance, jousting and fighting, making crude sexual gestures, and Joffrey all the while laughing his ass off, his brother Tommen and Cersei laughing along with them. But the pans to Oberyn and to Varys and to Tyrion and Sansa and all this, like, they were like, these are the good people. You know, these are the people who aren't sheep, who aren't just like, oh yes, the king thinks it's funny, I must laugh. They all just sit there kind of in disgust. And and even more reason for me to go with Prince Oberyn, being one of those characters there.
Yeah.
But
you know, like Joffrey obviously and Cersei kind of having a good time there, but it is we do see Tom in here, kind of. He was like laughing, but he didn't know. Like he was kind of just like seeing Joffrey laugh, and he was like, "Oh, maybe like I should."
Yeah, he's a small child, you know. It's just kind of like whatever's funny. You know, like if you're 8 years old, this might be objectively funny. You know,
I mean, yeah, Renly has like his
10 or whatever the fuck.
out, like, yeah, it's like I don't know, like they're. I mean, yeah, if you're a kid, this is probably just funny no matter what, and you don't.
But
really
even
know.
Tywin, you know, he's not one of the good guys. He's like, this is beneath you. It's not like he's like, this is wrong. It's just that he's like, y'all, what are we even fucking doing here? It's kind of like his attitude about it. And Loras leaves in anger after watching the crude depiction of his deceased lover, Renly, riding a mount resembling Loras, by the way.
Yeah. Was the
little puppet that Renly was riding around on.
Okay. Yeah,
and Sansa looks on in obvious grief when the dwarf playing her brother Robb is killed after having his wolf's head knocked off, and the way Tyrion takes her hand there and just kind of braces her for it. And Joffrey expresses his delight with the play and prepares to give the champion dwarf a purse, but then mockingly suggests, you know, is there any other challengers to my rule, uncle? Perhaps they have an extra costume. And Tyrion cleverly counters this jay by suggesting that Joffrey should fight instead and show the same bravery he displayed at the Battle of Blackwater, cautioning his nephew to be careful, as the champion dwarf is clearly mad with lust, and it would be a tragedy for the king to lose his virtue hours before his wedding night.
Tyrion is playing it very safe, but also at the same time, anyone
He's
who's
pushing it. He's pushing the boundary.
Yeah, who's in the know is like, okay, this is very passive aggressive, remarks that you're making here. But he realized like this is the royal wedding. This isn't his wedding, and he's not drunk and crazy. Like he can't just make threats to the king, and he has to be very careful. But yeah, just seeing him how he like just takes all of it, and he's like, he wants to just. I mean, who doesn't want to just go off and yell at Joffrey at any chance you get? But just how he takes all of it in and is like, well, the wine gets poured on his head, and he's like, well, a shame that it's spilled,
Yeah.
Like, it's like
A
he
fine
takes everything,
vintage.
yeah, twists it into like, no, it's okay, it's fine, everything's okay.
Yeah, and Joffrey continues. He's like, you know what? You'll be my cupbearer, and he's like, you do me a great honor. It's not meant to be an honor.
And everyone is like silent now.
A fine vintage. A shame it spilled. It
like,
didn't spill.
Yeah, like people were kind of laughing with Joffrey at some points, but now like everyone is silent. Everyone is just like, wow, like this is
our king.
Like
that
holy
we're looking
shit!
At here.
Like like I bet people were like, I don't know. Whenever he died, people were probably like, oh, he had it coming to him, and like this is I kind of wanted that to happen after seeing what we just saw because it was very interesting watching it, like hearing the crowd. Playing
the crowd kind of laughed whenever Tyrion was like, it would be a shame for the king to lose his virtue and hours before his wedding night. And people like laugh in the crowd, and he's like enraged and humiliated. He's been, he's not as smart as Tyrion. He has no way to fire back beyond being like, nuh-uh, like that's all Joffrey can do.
I know you are, but what am I? Like just just when you have nothing.
Your mom.
Yeah, exactly. He's just doing whatever he can because he's the king and he knows he can do whatever he wants. But yeah, no, the crowd was very interesting seeing how they were on Tyrion's side, and but also having to kind of laugh because he's the king, and like they have to be on Joffrey's side a little bit because they have to, but then eventually it gets to the point where they're like, okay, no, like I'm not with this anymore. Like we were saying how they cut to the faces of like the good people and showing how they were like, not having it. But then it cuts to everyone and everyone's just like, okay, like let's.
Well, and they also cut whenever Tyrion is being smarter than Joffrey and outwitting him at every turn, the way they cut to Oberyn and Varys, and they have they can't help but flash like a slight smile. They're like, oh, this is fucking good. They're like, oh, fuck yeah. I love that shit. And he then informs Tyrion that he's going to be his cupbearer, and Tyrion approaches Joffrey, who then purposely drops the goblet, and he has to go to try and pick it up, and as he does attempt to pick it up, he kicks it under the table and forces Tyrion to crawl under the table to find it. Sansa instead hands the goblet to Tyrion, and he fills it with wine and hands it back to Joffrey. All the while, I'd been watching her necklace since the very beginning of the wedding.
Yeah.
That shit is already missing from the get-go.
When, I was trying to, was it one of the, blue?
One of the gems. There's 7 gems, and the top left one is missing.
Okay, I thought it was one in the middle, and it would be very obvious.
No. It's just one of the random ones.
Okay.
And it's missing from the time they arrive at the ceremony. It's never there. It's never taken off of her.
That might be why. Maybe I was looking for the moment that it was taken off of her. Okay.
Yeah, and then I noticed that one was already missing, and I was like, oh shit, it's already happened. Now, I have no idea. I have the feeling it was whenever Joffrey hands his wine off to Marjorie, and Marjorie sets it between her and Olenna.
Yeah.
That's when it had to be,
Yeah,
but
whenever Tyrion gets the cup and then hands it back to him, it shows Olenna, knowing what's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The cup that's picked up, Yeah, I wonder.
So it's a really interesting tension building and trying to piece together exactly what happened here. But then, the king demands that Tyrion kneel before him, and Tyrion refuses to kneel. And Marjorie interrupts the tense moment that everyone is witnessing. Look, the pie! And Joffrey hands the goblet to Marjorie, who then places it at the edge of the table near her grandmother, Olenna. And Joffrey draws his new sword and cuts into the pie, and several white doves fly out. And Sansa and Tyrion are like, all right, let's get the fuck out of here, man. This is enough. We should go. And while Marjorie serves Joffrey a piece of pie, Joffrey commands Tyrion to serve him wine to wash it down. Yeah.
Sorry, I was just rewatching it. I think you literally see Olenna take it. Actually,
Oh, no kidding.
like she's kind of brushing Sansa's hair a little bit, and then like reach back, and you don't really see her fully take it. Like, it is kind of sleight of hand. Like, she's doing. I don't know. I can't really tell if it's her actually taking it off. Or
right. And that was the moment where I think it would have happened, though. I remember, like, whenever she talks to her at the beginning and she's just kind of stroking her hair and being real touchy, like, had to have been there.
Oh, no, yeah. No, you do kind of see it. She does grab it, and then you see a little tug. Yeah. Yep, right there. Wow. Yeah, I didn't notice that at all.
So Olenna straight up is the one who poisons the drink as well, which is another layer of badass.
She knew, like, I guess, like, why have it be in a necklace to Sansa? Like, is it, like...
It frames Sansa.
Like, do they actually find that little piece? Like, they actually do? Oh, okay. I just didn't remember that part then.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to be like, what? What's the... If you're hiding it and you're just wanting the poison to get there, and that's, like, the hard part, I'm like, what's the whole necklace deal for? But
no, yeah. I'm pretty sure there might even be... The necklace might even not make it away with her. At the beginning of next week. It might even, like, be ripped off and dropped at the scene of the crime sort of thing by Dantos to kind of further frame Sansa for the crime.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't remember that so I remember Tyrion was framed, or, I mean, just...
They were supposed to conspire together as husband and wife.
Okay. Okay, now it's... Okay, yeah. I just didn't remember all the specifics of how the framing and it was all done.
Conveniently, she flees immediately. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, like Littlefinger and Olenna thought this shit through. They did a good job at framing Tyrion and Sansa for this. Or at the very least, Sansa. Tyrion's just kind of a victim by association.
Yeah. Like, it just kind of happened to be that way because Joffrey, points to him as he's dying, and he
points to him as he's dying. Yeah. They could not have planned for Joffrey to dub Tyrion his cupbearer.
That's true. Yeah. Like, So I guess the plan...
I think it was just Sansa.
Yeah. Just... Because that does make the most sense of, like, motive, everything, like everything, the necklace now that
But then a bunch of stuff happens right in a row that gives Tyrion motive to kill his nephew. Very conveniently, it all happens one after another in front of a ton of witnesses that watch him fill his cup with wine and watch him be belittled by the king. And like,
I've never thought about all these little details of it because I'm just like, Joffrey, drink the cup. Like, I'm just waiting for him to, like, take the sip and then him to die. And I'm never like actually thinking of all the little things that had to happen to get it there.
Ah, man, but that tension building here whenever Tyrion hands the goblet to Joffrey and he quickly drinks all of it. And then Joffrey tries to speak, but he begins coughing. And they kind of pan to the other people's faces, and they're just kind of waiting for him to get it out. And then he grabs his throat and continues coughing. And the way Tyrion, Cersei, and Tywin all just kind of like their eyes widen, and they're like, oh my God, something's fucking happening. And he turns to Marjorie with his hand on his throat and is like, and Olenna exclaims, the boy is choking! Somebody help, you fools, help your king!
Yeah.
Olenna yells. knowing full well that she just poisoned this man.
She's playing the part very well.
Yes, and Joffrey collapses face down and begins vomiting and convulsing and is visibly in excruciating pain. Yeah, love it. But then, you know, the camera work again to like show the back of his head as he's like convulsing, like waiting to show you that it's happening. He's not just sick. He's dead and he will be soon. You know, Dantos rushes over and takes Sansa away. Cersei rushes in and turns Joffrey over onto his back, Jaime being the first one to have reached him in the first place. And when he turns over and you see his purple face and blood gushing from his nose and his mouth, he raises an accusatory finger in the direction of Tyrion, who happens to be examining the wine goblet through which Joffrey was poisoned. And it's not made clear if Joffrey is actually accusing Tyrion or merely the wine, you know? Like, Tyrion happens to be holding the wine. Joffrey's almost certainly accusing Tyrion of it. But
I'd say, it's his last thing that he's doing, you know?
Yeah.
It's all he'll be known for, I guess, from here on out, which is fantastic.
Yep, and Joffrey, his eyes fill up with blood. It runs from his nose. He stops convulsing. And bing bong, the king is dead. And Cersei sobs with grief and orders the Kingsguard to seize him.
Like, I do like, you know, Lena Headey, given the performance here, makes a whole lot of, you know, like, my son, you know, like the line she has to deliver here, like, very, very, very good. I think I'm going out of left field here. And it's the last time we can ever give him a performance nod. And I think it's
he deserves
fair.
it, though.
He, you know, and maybe not just for this one episode, but kind
An
of
honorary character nod or performance
I guess
nod.
he did kind of have to convulse and do all of that too, you know, act like he was dying and throwing up and do all that stuff. Like,
I thought about giving it to him as well.
But yeah, I think it's, you know, obviously not because I like the character whatsoever, but he does that's the whole, I guess the point is that we do hate him that much, and it comes from the performance, you know, obviously the writing, it's, you know, he's written to be that way, but I think without, I don't know, just he's so snobby about it. Like he's so perfect for the role. And I just, before I couldn't give him one, you know, I think it is fair enough.
Honorary.
To kind of give him a thankfully he's dead. And that we won't have to even think about giving him
good. He was good in that role though, man. He was, you know.
Like, you know, if you receive real life death threats, like this dude received real life hate because of this role, and it's just, you know, maybe it's like people just, they don't think that it's an actor and like they don't get the
it's people being absolute fucking morons.
Or maybe, I don't know, there is something, or people are like, well, you can't act that way if it's not coming from somewhere, you know, maybe it's coming from, maybe he's like that in real life, but no, he's probably just a normal, just every, you know, he's
normal
just
guy.
He's just an actor. That's his job.
He's a teacher, and he's married, and
wow. Yeah. So,
no longer an actor. This stopped that.
Yeah. At least I don't know. He got his fame, maybe not the way he wanted to. But
one of the most memorable roles in the history of television, though. I'll tell you that.
That's true.
So Jack Gleason getting that nod from you. I appreciate that. I thought about giving it to him as well, but Lena Headey, I thought, put on a performance that I just couldn't deny.
Which is true. Yeah. Like,
and I had a certain level of confidence that you would go with him and I wouldn't have to. So I was like, all right, cool. Okay, good. I'm glad you did. Because if not, I was going to have to mention him and give him a nice little send off because he was so good, man. He was in this role, and he was a terrible, terrible fucking kid, but a fantastic actor, man. It's
oh yeah. And oh man, I didn't even think. I thought I already said my line, but I didn't. It was another moment that it was from the ceremony to the reception as everyone's kind of walking, and Tywin and Olenna have like a walk together. And Olenna just I forgot, what, maybe Tywin's just pissed at how much it's all costing and everything and whatever. And Olenna just says, you ought to try enjoying something before you die. You might find it suits you,
Yeah.
I love Olenna and everything she says. And like, even before like her husband comes up, like to try to be like, hey, what's going on? She's like, I'm talking with Tywin Lannister right now. Excuse us. And like, just continues.
That's her son.
Wait, what?
Yeah. She's Marjorie's grandma. And
Oh
Mace
my God,
Tyrell.
that is her. Oh my God, yeah. Okay, now, okay, yeah. I just thought that was her husband for some reason.
No, yeah, and I've had the same thing happen to me, but I wanted to
Oh,
make
shit.
sure to clarify it for everyone else.
That's okay, yeah. Oh, you're right, because Joffrey's like, maybe I call you father now. After he gives him the gift or whatever. That's right. But I don't know. Just Olenna's presence on screen. She's always Olenna, and I just anytime I guess Tyrion can be told off, or Tywin can be told off, I like that. It was just a line of I liked whenever it was said. Just that I think it was like the delivery of it as well. It was kind of like a line that I just had that gut feeling of like, yeah, that I don't know, I like that. But another thing I think the recap left out again. Yeah, all these little character.
There's little character moments that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even really remember that, but that is a goodie. That is it's a fantastic moment.
They're walking. I think like he is pissed of how much it's costing. Lena's like, well, I'm paying my share, obviously, so how can you be mad? And he's like, well, should we stuff a gold rose in every single ham or like food? I don't know, whatever. He's like, so should we just keep going or whatever? It's just the back and forth they have. Like not many people can stand up to Olenna, but Tywin, like they do go back and forth. He holds
his own. Yeah, there's and Charles, like again, just all these fantastic actors getting a chance to perform off one another. Lena Headey and Pedro Pascal at one point, Charles Dance and Diana Rigg in that scene. Peter Dinklage and Nikolaj Coster-Waldau, who we know are brothers who love each other, but they don't get to. Was this their first scene in seasons since season 1? In this episode,
like them sitting when he spills the wine and all
that.
Yeah, I think definitely the first scene where you get a brotherly, like anything brotherly.
I mean, shit.
Like I can't, because Jamie was taken, or like, and he was prisoner. Like, what moments did they really have before it, other than season 1? Like, I don't.
Not much.
Think there was really anything.
I feel like this is the first time they'd acted off of each other in some time, and Ewan Rion and Alfie Allen, I spoke to that a while. Like, it's just wonderful to see these actors in their element, and sometimes interacting with someone they'll never act with again, and that's like, it's really, really compelling. So, I love this episode, man. It's and it was only 53 minutes. It was short. It was quick. Like, we got to the wedding and I was like, holy shit, we're already here. I also didn't realize that it was 20 minutes of the episode. So like 30 minutes went to 3 other places, and then the last 20 minutes was King's Landing, and the wedding even had King's Landing stuff spliced into that first 30 minutes, but it was incredibly well paced. It was a very good looking episode. I thought that this one did a really good job there. It was fantastically performed, and the tension building at the end is incredibly well written. So it's going to be a damn good one here in an episode 2 of a season. Can confidently say it's the best episode 2 of any season in this show.
That's fair. Yeah, that's nothing's really gonna top this one. I'm trying to think. Let's see. Episode 2 next season, The House of Black and White. Is that
Jaqen H'ghar?
Okay. Episode 2 of season 6 is just Home. I don't know what that's referring to. Season 7, Stormborn. Season 8, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah, that season 8 might be the only one that gives it a run for its money, but even so, because that's like the night before.
Yeah, it's not really
the Battle of Winterfell.
Episode 2 of 6. So it's more of like an episode 3 and 4.
Yeah, right. Right.
So it's, but no, this is, if I had to pick an episode 2 out of
this is the episode 2 I'm picking. Yeah, man. It's fucking good, man. So let's go ahead and throw it an enjoyment rating. Is this Is this amongst the creme de la crop? Is this all the way up there because Joffrey dies? Is that
does heighten it quite a lot. And
it
I
doesn't?
mean,
It certainly doesn't hurt.
no, and I mean, and that that's obviously the big takeaway. But then I think what we were, just all the character moments, just two characters that got to act off each other, Bronn and Jaime. Like, I don't know, like the little moments that I forgot about. But whenever they pop back up, I was like, man, that's, I don't know, really nice to see. And you're right, it was very short, paced very well. Like, I remember at the end, there was like still a lot of time left on the like Max, like the player, and I think the directors, like the little
the
spot
little behind the scenes stuff,
a little longer this time for what they had to do. I don't know, but I was when it ended, I was just like, man, yeah, that was very, like, a very easily, like, very
boom.
easy and boom, yeah, there you go. I don't know, I don't know, giving it a 10 feels kind of weird. It maybe.
I mean, I was comfortable with the 10, but my gut took me to a 9.75. Like there is something that, like, as much as I love to see what happens in this episode, there is something that could have elevated it, that I could have enjoyed more. I don't cry at any given point, and that's typically the hallmark of a 10, is like, oh, it made me tear up, it made me cry. And the tears of joy that well in my eyes when Joffrey dies isn't exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah, but I think 9.75 is more fair for this one. I was almost like, coming into it, I'm like, yeah, 10. Joffrey's dying. Before I even watched the episode, I'm like, yeah, this one I'm just gonna love no matter what. But I do think you're right. If there's not that, like, emotional, like,
kick.
That's what really brings it to a 10, or like just an insane, like, battle, or I don't know, something of the sort. Like, something there's maybe this is a 10 in any other show, but for Game of Thrones, like, we just know that they can do more, and that episodes do hit harder.
And this is a pretty nearly perfect episode too. Like as far as all things are considered, there, that the writing was incredible, the performances were incredible, and it was a great looking episode. But again, like, in comparison to where the show eventually goes in terms of visuals, it's like, how could I possibly tell you this is as good as it gets? And how good it has looked. This was like, even season 1, episode 9, Baelor. I remember being like, wow, this is a visually brilliant episode. And this one had really great editing and camera placement choices, but it wasn't like, oh, this is beautiful to look at. It was like, oh, that was a smart way to handle it, more so than that was a beautiful way to handle it, which is it is impressive in its own right, to be sure. But yeah, I don't know.
I'd say, I mean, we were talking about all the performances that were in this episode, and I mean, everyone was doing very well here, I'd say. Like, I think the only gripe here is, like, visually, because I think it's written beautiful, like the tension that builds, of the wedding and everything like that. But even the Dreadfort scene, I think, was written very well. Like, the reveal of truly showing how Reek was, like, completely not Theon anymore. Like, the razor's right in his hand, and he can slice his throat right there. Like, there's even tension building there in that scene. And Bran, just for all the future stuff. But
this one was written by George R.R. Martin. There's a reason it does come together in a very satisfying way.
Yeah, I think, I mean, last episode we gave an 8.75, and I'm above.
Oh, surely I'm above a 9.
I'm trying to think of, like, the closest comparison to this episode, and I don't know if there really is one. The Red Wedding, I guess
I think that would be simply because it's this massive moment that changes the show completely.
Yeah.
Joffrey has been the king for 2.5 seasons. Since season 1, Joffrey has sat the throne. Here we are in season 4 and he's gone. You know, like things are about to shift, and that's
Stannis the only, or I guess Greyjoy. Yeah, there's
Stannis, Balon.
Yeah, Stannis,
Balon. Renly, Joffrey, and Robb are dead.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, I think maybe the Red Wedding is the closest comparison. We gave that one a 9.75 critically.
I can't quite go there. The tension
yeah.
building in that is even more impressive. The score in that is even more impressive. Not a
like
huge step down though. 9.25.
Yeah, 9.25 was where I was kind of Aaron, and if we do give it that, the episode is a 9.42. Officially gone, you know, with the genre this season. And critical having that extra weighting there, which is nice. But yeah, let's see where that puts it around other episodes. Like, because the Reigns of Castamere, the Red Wedding was a 9.83 overall, but that is with a 10 in the genre as well. So you kind of have to look at all the previous ratings with a little grain of salt. But
this received a 9.7 on IMDb.
I mean, I think a lot of that is people really, really just like Joffrey dying.
Yeah,
and a lot of it's just people like not actually thinking of how the episode was made in total, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, Joffrey's dead."
Well, and the Red Wedding, for comparison, 9.9.
Okay, so the little step down, even with all of the, because even though the Red Wedding is terrible and everyone hates it, everyone sees how well it was made, and like no one is going to be like, "No, that's a 1 episode," 1 out of 10.
And it's on IMDb. This is tied for the best episode of the season with episodes 6 and 8. And then there's 2 9.6s, which are the penultimate episode and the finale. So on IMDb, we've got 2 9.6s and 3 9.7s, which IMDb is notoriously difficult to please as far as the user ratings. So like,
that's nuts. Yeah, we are in
a good fucking season.
Yeah, this is a good time to be watching Game of Thrones. That's for sure. Yeah, 94% overall for our pennyometer.
Pennyometer.
Yeah, I don't name pen.
Bloomometer.
Something better. I can feel we come up with something better than that. But yeah, I think and
we've never officially given that a name. We ought to work on that. We ought to workshop that. But
it is, I think, a lot more like having the genre kind of gone and enveloping the new rating, just the weight, critical weight. I do like last episode around a 90, 89, and this one like almost a half point above that. That makes sense. I think it's working out better here. I think, and a lot more meaningful of a rating than just kind of slapping a 10 in the genre, because we know from here on out, it's they're not really going to falter in that category.
It's been fucking good, man, and I'm so glad we're rewatching it. Every week I rewatch it and I'm like, God, I love that we're doing this. This makes me so fucking happy every single week, man. And it's such a good show. It is so fucking good. But I do believe that with that, we will conclude this episode of Winter is Blooming and return next week for season 4, episode 3. And if I had to guess, it'll be another good one. So with that, if you would, head to patreon.com/pennybloom_pod, where you'll find over 50 hours of exclusive content, including all sorts of written content, book reviews, movie reviews, comic book reviews, and the like. It's been so much fun getting back into writing, and I'm doing so over there. I'm going to be posting up a short story soon that I wrote just a couple weeks back, and have been refining slowly over the course of the last few weeks. I'm very excited to put that out. First work of fiction in years, and it got me rolling. Now I elevated from a short story that was 10 pages, and now I'm already 24 pages into what I think is going to be a fucking novel. So like I'm very excited to be writing again. But And that'll be over there at patreon.com/pennybloom_pod. We didn't have a question of the day today, and that's because our question of the day will be aired out over on Patreon. We're going to be putting together our very own small council for fiction at large. You know, a king or queen, hand of the king or queen, master of war, master of coin, master of ships, master of laws, Lord Commander of the King's Guard, Lord Commander of the City Watch, and a Grand Maester. And we're going to be doing all that over on Patreon, and it's going to be from all sects of fiction. Anywhere you want to take from, you can put it in there. The only stipulation is that Game of Thrones cannot be involved there. And this was an idea that was being floated about by someone I follow on Twitter and is rather large in the Star Wars Twitter community, which was cool to see him talking some Game of Thrones. Mace Windu. Mace A.H. Windu. Good follow. Strongly recommend the guy. A very, very talented content creator. But it was a great idea posed by him, and I'm very excited to execute over there at patreon.com/pennybloom_pod. If you would, head to Twitter, follow at PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram at PennyBloomPodcast. Remember to leave a 5-star rate and review wherever you might be listening. And if you are a movie fan, continue joining us for our director spotlight. We've been discussing Wes Anderson for a couple weeks now in anticipation of Asteroid City. We've already discussed Royal Tenenbaums, The Life Aquatic, The Darjeeling Limited, and a couple more. Moonrise Kingdom, The Grand Budapest Hotel. I'm missing one. What am I missing?
French Dispatch.
We have discussed that, but it's not out yet.
Let's see.
The Life Aquatic, Darjeeling Limited. Fantastic Mr. Fox. That's the other one. That's what I'm missing. So we've discussed 6 Wes Anderson films. We've got 2 more coming this week. This Wednesday will bring the likes of Isle of Dogs, and I'm very excited for that one. That's a very fun viewing. And this Friday will bring you The French Dispatch. Next week, we're going to be continuing it with Rushmore, and then Wes Anderson's first film ever, his first feature film, in Bottle Rocket. And that episode will be joined by my father once again for the first time since Howard the Duck. And I'm very excited for that and for you all to hear that. So yeah, Wes Anderson, everything right now. And I'm very excited for you guys to see that and hear those. And then we'll be discussing Asteroid City the week after that. And then we'll be moving on to the next director. And I'm very excited for that as well. But yeah, with that, I was Colton Robertson, and I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom, and a toast to the proud Lannister children, the dwarf, the cripple, and the mother of madness.